Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Rigathi, Gachagua, the CS is present here today, my fellow CEOs, and members of the Drought Response Committee, Steering Committee, ladies and gentlemen, including those from the media. Let me begin by thanking the President and the Deputy President on behalf of the committee for the trust that they have bestowed upon us to lead this drought initiative. We do not take this responsibility lightly. We know that what is expected of us, and we are ready, we are willing, and we are able to deliver the mandate together. We are all aware of the dire situation as has been described by Your Excellency, that is affecting half of Kenya's counties following 4 failed consecutive rain seasons. And from the NDMA reports, we seem headed for a 5th successful failed rainy season. And I know that recently we've seen some rain coming through. We should not be take life. We should assume that this is going to get worse. So this initiative is really critical. I've personally traveled to Marsabit and to Isiolo for food distribution drives, and have witnessed the effect that the drought is having on livelihoods and on lives. However, I've also been immensely touched by the resilience shown by our brothers and sisters in these counties. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that there is no single entity, whether in government, NGO, or in the private sector, that can tackle this alone. It requires the partnership and collaboration across all sectors, as Your Excellency, you have stated, for both short-term but also long-term interventions. We have already seen these partnerships come to life in various aspects. We've had initiatives such as Pamoja Tungane between private sector. We've seen a lot of support from various other institutions. We also know that there are various companies that have been doing their bit by trying to reach the most impacted through food donations to supplement what the government is already doing. With this committee in place, we now have an opportunity to bring all our efforts under one umbrella and to have real long-term lasting impact in terms of both dealing with the emergency, but also, as Your Excellency, you've said, in terms of dealing the future too. Under the leadership and the stewardship of the Deputy President, we look forward to incorporating all the necessary technical expertise needed in order to fulfill the mandate given to us by His Excellency, the President. We remain cognizant of the urgent and immediate interventions needed to alleviate the suffering of those impacted by the current drought. That is why the committee is dedicated to immediately establish and implement a national drought mitigation appeal fund under the auspices of the Kenya Red Cross. We'll also be seeking to mobilize resources and supplement the government's drought response program in alleviating the impact of the drought ravaging the country. And every small contribution, big or small, everything counts. And as Your Excellency, you've said, by the end of today, we'll have a pay bill, a number that will be the single point of contribution by anyone who wants to contribute. The committee will also be meeting later so that we establish other processes, including opening an account that will allow us to mobilize and manage the funds that are received. The resources will support intervention to cushion those impacted by the effects of the ongoing drought by way of immediate relief activities, including cash transfer programs, food donations, amongst others. But even as we discuss and implement these short-term measures, as you said, Your Excellency, we are aware that there is need to look at long-term interventions to mitigate the effects of the perennial drought and the climate change, which has been blamed for the current situation. There is no doubt that the multiple impacts of climate change are disproportionately more damaging to countries such as ours than any other parts of the world, despite the continent contributing the least to creating the climate crisis. Climate action is an integral part to solving the recurrent droughts, among other issues, and the private sector has a critical role to play, as you have observed, Your Excellency. A few weeks ago, during the COP27 climate conference, business leaders from across the continent made a commitment to climate action with company-level actions that each of us will take. What we are calling for as a business is for homegrown innovations, solutions which the private sector can lead, and for partnerships, especially when it comes to financing from the global community, but also from local sources. So some of the practical steps that the private sector can take include joining the science-based target initiatives and other initiatives that many stakeholders have already spoken about. As we transition to a green economy, we must also ensure a just transition by investing in job-rich growth and also protection of workers and communities we operate in. When it comes to technology, we have an opportunity for strategic collaboration and investment in companies that offer alternative green solutions. We can also integrate tree planting as a corporate social investment pillar and deploy appropriate resources towards afforestation service. And we are cognizant of the commitment and the challenge that the President made during the COP27. I call upon my fellow CEO to join the Business Leaders Coalition that we can bring together and bring to life our climate action ambition. I recognize companies such as Equity Bank, Diamond Trust Bank, East Africa Breweries, KCB, and whose CEOs have already joined the coalition, and many others as part of creating partnership that allow us to get to the next stage. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the task ahead of us will not be an easy one, but I assure you, and indeed all Kenyans, that we are ready for the challenge. We look forward to working with all those involved to ensure that we implement appropriate measures and actions to reduce the vulnerability to and the impact of the perennial drought. I need to end by saying we all operate and run large organizations, and we know that unless Kenyans are doing well and continue to have a livelihood that they can rely on, as companies, we cannot be able to be successful in the long term. So we are here to support, we take the challenge, and Your Excellency, we commit that through these eminent team members of the committee, we will do our very best to ensure that we deal with both the emergency elements, but also the long term. And we appeal to Kenyans, every single Kenyan, to come together in cash, in kind, donate your bonga points. There's approximately, and I can say this because I run Safaricom, there's approximately 4 billion Kenya shillings worth of bonga points that sit in all our various accounts. And I'm sure there are many of us who can be able to donate some of those bonga points to ensure that we don't have kids going home hungry, to ensure that we can also start to think about the more long-term elements of this crisis, so that we ensure that we are not here again in the future. But what I can say from as chairman of the committee is we commit to play our part to complement what government is doing and to support the whole agenda and ensure that we protect lives and protect livelihoods. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. We are not going to take any questions for now. So questions will be taken in other forums. I'd like now to invite His Excellency now to commission this committee.
Asanteni sana. It is now my duty on behalf of the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, to declare this steering committee officially inaugurated and ask them to move with speed and go to work and mobilize resources for the benefit of the people of Kenya. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Now I will invite the whole team to join His Excellency for a photo session. Kindly join His Excellency at the front so that we get that photo. Thank you. the drought response. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. The Cabinet Secretary for East African Community, the ASALS and Regional Development, Rebecca Miano, our CS for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, the Honorable Alice Wahome, our CS for Tourism and Wildlife, Penina Malonza, the Chairman of the Steering Committee to mobilize support for the drought situation, Peter Ndegwa, the captains of industry present. On Monday, November 21st, His Excellency President William Ruto established the National Steering Committee on Drought Response, to which he appointed a team of eminent persons. We are gathered here today for the inauguration of that committee. We respect expert advice at this time. It tells us that we are looking at an unfolding humanitarian catastrophe, not just in Kenya, but also the larger Horn of Africa region, because of 4 consecutive failed rain seasons. A 5th failed season has already been set in motion by poor start of the October to December rains. We now have 14 counties in alarm drought phase, up from 11 last month. Moreover, below average rainfall is also considered likely to continue during the March to May 2023 season. I wish to thank our development partners, the private sector and other non-state actors for standing with this country for the last 2 years. You have heeded Kenya's call for help as we encountered multiple shocks, including locust invasions, COVID-19, and a persisting drought. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the fourth estate, there is urgent need for solidarity regardless of next year's rainfall performance. Recovery from a drought of this magnitude will take years, with extremely high humanitarian needs set to persist and even increase in 2023. We have to act now to save lives, and for this, more funds are crucial. We already have several initiatives set in motion. On Monday, I joined the United Nations family in Malimin, Garissa County, for the launch of a flash appeal for $472.6 million to support 4.3 million drought-affected Kenyans in 23 ASAL counties, out of an estimated 6.4 million people projected to require humanitarian assistance across the country. This initiative will assist to bridge the government resource gap as the drought crisis worsens. To complete these ongoing efforts, the National Steering Committee on Drought Response that we are inaugurating today will, among other things, establish a private-led National Drought Mitigation Appeal Fund and mobilize resources to alleviate the impact of drought ravaging parts of this country. The President has established the Steering Committee to provide a framework for mobilization of additional resources following increased public interest in scaling up of drought response to meet the needs of fellow citizens affected by the drought. This team's effort will therefore be only as good as our willingness to lend a helping hand. Now, more than ever before, we need to rekindle our spirit of Harambee and be our brothers and sisters keepers. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the fourth estate, the prolonged drought is clear manifestation of the effects of global warming and climate change. Many people have completely lost their livelihoods and coping capacities and are relying heavily on assistance to meet basic needs. We cannot overemphasize the need for more resilience, building investments in drought-prone areas to enable communities to cope with and bounce back better from drought and other climate shocks. This requires enhanced budgetary support from both levels of government, development partners, and public-private partnerships to unlock the full potential of the ASAL region. We cannot and must not wait for additional rain seasons to fail in order to act. These distinguished men and women appointed to this committee, His Excellency the President has immense faith in your capacity and ability to spearhead resource mobilization process. Millions of Kenyans are looking up to you to deliver the promise that no life will be lost to hunger. On this note, allow me to thank the various religious groups who have been mobilizing food and other in-kind donations towards the famine crisis. But this is not enough as the situation deepens. That is why we as a government are making a special appeal to all Kenyans and various stakeholders who support us in saving the lives and livelihoods of our people. We appeal to Kenyans of goodwill to contribute a percentage of their salaries to pay to a pay bill number that will be established soon by this committee. Already, our men and women in the Kenya Defense Forces have offered to forego 1 day's salary to contribute to the response kit. The National Youth Service has followed suit. We appeal to Kenyans in food surplus counties to make their contributions through the offices of governors and respective county commissioners. The governors and county commissioners will work with the task force to be unveiled today and will coordinate the transfer of food to Kenyans suffering in deficit areas. In addition, we sent out a request to the media to make a financial or in-kind contribution in terms of airtime and newspaper space to popularize this appeal and the pay bill number. Hata kama mko na pesa watu ya media mnuachie kidogo ile mnaweza kuwa nayo cash. Ndio tupangane hapo mbele mambo ya free airtime and space. There will be no parallel pay bill and means of making contribution to this appeal other than the official channels that will be outlined by this committee by the end of the day. We warn cartels, conmen and fraudsters who want to take advantage of this initiative to con the people of Kenya money. We want to tell conmen and fraudsters and all those people who want to take advantage of this very difficult situation that they will not know peace in their lifetime. Taking advantage of this situation to con people money when people are hungry, when people are dying, is not only ungodly but unacceptable. We ask our governors in the adversely affected areas to prioritize saving lives and livelihoods through diversion and the allocation of development money to save lives. I want to conclude by thanking these good men and women who have given time and sacrifice to save lives in this country. I want to thank them for their patriotism